Now let's discuss facing a turn probe. Understand that your range, when you check behind on the flop, is going to be somewhat capped, which means that it lacks the best hands, right? And this is why it's very important to make sure you protect your checking range, because if you check behind on the flop with only junk or very weak marginal made hands and junk, you're going to be put in a very difficult spot when your opponent bets the turn because you're going to have to fold way too often. And you don't want to fold way too often, which is why you want to make sure in this scenario you really have that 70-30 marginal made hands to junk ratio. And you want your marginal made hands to be reasonably strong, sometimes perhaps even protected with a few slow plays. So whenever you're facing a bet, you're going to use the bet response flow chart, right? You're going to fold your junk. You're going to call often due to being in position, right? You're going to be calling more than the minimum defense frequency. And when your opponent uses small size, or small sizes with their turn probes, you should occasionally put in a raise for value with your best hand and your draws that are now available on the turn. Typically, when your opponent's using a big probe bet size, when they bet the turn, you're going to want to raise less often because, again, they're polarized when they're betting big. When your opponent's betting big and they have a good hand, at least the top of their range is very strong, you don't want to be raising much of anything, right? But if they use a smaller bet size, you should raise sometimes because now they're going to be betting a little bit thinner for value. So when they're betting a little bit thinner for value, if you beat a decent chunk of that value range, you can put in the raise. But in general, just proceed using the facing a bet flowchart.